Today we will talk about women wind band composers who have written for the symphonic wind band. Over the course of the development of the wind band in the United States, the field has been peppered by John Philip Sousa, the Goldmans, Vincent Persichetti, Martin Gould, Chance, in addition to male foreign composers such as Gustav Holst and Ralph Vaughan Williams. So now let's turn our looking glass around and we'll see what the women have been up to in the last 30 years. In our discussion today, we will review the program and the women composers as well as composition. We will also look at criteria that makes a great musical composition. Since anyone can write something down, but established criteria have yielded what some conductors view as compositions with having true artistic merit. These compositions have enough merit so that they warrant as pieces becoming established works of the repertoire of the wind band, and thus have a glorious fortune to be played over and over again. From our program today, American Women Composers of the 1980s and 1990s, we will be including 7 women composers on this program. Most of these composers have written at least one wind band piece and have written many more. Most of these composers, as other composers, they likely go where their inspiration takes them, but most of the women have had a chance to play in a wind band or some kind of band ensemble in their formative years. Some of these other composers come from a different angle, and they're just very highly talented, and they would probably be a genius at whatever they tackle. These composers are still living, with the exception of Dr. Carol Bramer, who passed away in 2018. However, her work is still being played, and in fact, it will be on an upcoming concert called Patriotic Landscapes of the Capitol Wind Symphony. They're celebrating 250 years of America. Ars longa, vita brevis. Long live artistic endeavors. For our first work, we will look at Carolyn Bramer's Early Light. After that, we will be playing the third movement of Ceremonies for Band, the Allegro Vivo by Ellen Taffy-Swillich. The piece by Thea Musgrave is a 4-movement work, Journey Through Japanese Landscape. We will be looking at the third movement, Autumn. We will conclude the first half of our program with the Wind Symphony No. 1 by Nancy Galbraith, the very, very talented Nancy Galbraith. After a short intermission, we will be looking at Road Stories by Jennifer Higdon. Very exciting work in 3 movements: Speed Bike, Winding Tree Lane, and Rail Lights. After Jennifer Higdon's exciting work, we will look at the Californian Counterpoint, The Twittering Machine, and Circuits by Cindy McTee. Such exciting works on this program. We will conclude the second half with Magnetic Fireflies from 1997 by Augusta Reed Thomas. All of these works are very exciting and interesting to listen to. Now let's continue on. It's important to specifically highlight and celebrate women composers, because in the development of the wind band repertoire in the 1800s and the early 1900s, women composers and conductors and even players are notably absent, as the wind bands were really a development of the military. They imitated wind ensemble traditions from England and Europe when the military bands of those countries came over. There were town bands, there were court bands, and also the touring bands in America. But for the most part, women were completely absent from playing in these groups. When a woman performer was present, it was more that she was the soprano star, such as Jenny Lind or Marcella Sembrick. Or perhaps the program included a women's choral group for a choral and band composition, such as an opera, an oratorio, or maybe another choral type. When I was growing up, I really heard of very, very few, if any, American women composers. And these women who we're mentioning are surely just a subset of many of the women that compose, but they are the select few whose works have been chosen and they're included in the literature, mainly because of the high quality of their works and their prolific output. As professionals, these women, such as Augusta Reed Thomas, are active composers, but also professors of composition at the University of Chicago, has about 20 active commissions going, and has won many awards. Ellen Tefe-Swillich is a Pulitzer Prize winner and also winner of many other awards. Cindy McTee has had a long career at the University of Houston, teaching composition and composing. Libby Larson composes full-time on her farm in Minnesota. Thea Musgrave, although a Scottish composer originally of opera and classical music, she has lived in the United States and enjoyed a career here since 1972. Dr. Jennifer Higdon enjoys several performances of her works per year, and Blue Cathedral, her work, is today's most performed contemporary orchestral work, and it has had more than 600 performances worldwide. She has also had the Pulitzer Prize in 2010 and has won the Grammy on three different occasions. Nancy Galbraith is professor and chair of composition at Carnegie Mellon University, where she holds the Vera I. Hines Professorship of Music Endowed Chair. Dr. Carol Bramer, as we mentioned before, was chair of composition at the University of Oklahoma for about 10 years, where she held the O'Brien Presidential Professorship. And at the time of her death in 2018, she was chair of the Bob Cole Conservatory of Music at Cal State University in Long Beach, California. Dr. Bramer had performances of her works at Carnegie Hall in Germany, in Norway, and Sweden, and for a very special gala 150th anniversary concert at West Point. All of these women are highly active and are constantly in demand on the music scene today. What type of work is composition and being a composer? What does it mean? Composers engage with competitions, they do commissions, they write different types of works. They could even be composers in residence of a major symphony orchestra. A commission is a project for which a composer is hired and paid to write a musical work. Commissions are frequently sought after by numerous universities or colleges or even high school bands. Sometimes these groups join forces to save enough money to be able to commission a famous composer and be able to pay their fee for a new work. There are numerous national and international composing competitions ongoing on an annual or biannual basis. Groups such as the American Bandmasters Association or other international groups host these annual or biannual competitions to find new composers and new works. When a composer wins such a competition, it can help launch their career with monetary compensation and performances, of course, of their work at national conferences. In addition, they will get publication of their work and they will get sales and royalty on the publisher's website. Writing a large-scale opera, band piece, or wind symphony is a great deal of dedicated writing over months and years to develop a master work. Finding a voice, doing revisions, refining each phrase, talking to the band that they're writing a commission for and finding out what they want. How long should the piece be? What is the instrumentation? How many different instruments are there? How many groups? How good are the players? It has to be very thorough and creative work. Augusta Reed Thomas discusses her work on YouTube in an interview with Windworks, saying that she's working on a commission for the proms in England and is in the process of doing refinements. She's polishing her masterpiece, and then it will be performed. Some of these women write in a minimalist style, such as Thomas, in which the music is highly economical and each phrase is very transparent and written with great precision. Augusta Reed Thomas has also been a composer in residence for the Chicago Symphony for about 10 years and worked closely with top conductors, commissioning new works and having them performed. She is also part of has started the Grossman Institute, where they have premiered and commissioned over 107 works. She will be in November at the University of Minnesota in a weekend residency or week-long residency, where they're going to perform her work Crackle and premiering a new work that she wrote called Moon Dancers. So being a composer is a very exciting type of endeavor. When we're writing a composition, the first thing is it's got to be great. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to listen to it. So to make a composition more impactful and memorable, there are different techniques that composers can use. They can look for a balance between using the full band or using more soloists, depending on what type of composition they're interested in making. There can also be a balance between slow sections and fast sections. There must be variety and more texture involved in the piece to garner more interest in it. Not just between slow and fast sections, but also between how many solos there are and how much of the band is playing all at once, the tutti or the ensemble playing. What is melodic and what is harmonic aspects? Another area to look for balance is between the sections. How much is the brass playing? What are the upper winds playing? Are the lower winds playing? And the percussion sections. One of the main things that is interesting that has been highlighted to be a good technique is to find an interesting musical path through the music. So making the path of the music be diverse and interesting is key to having a good composition. When we're listening to each of these pieces, it's important to really enjoy the music. Listen to each one for the musical style that's unique to each composer. If you try to reflect on melodies which you hear in them, or if you think the music is more disjunct, endeavor to hear high points and unique aspects of each of the pieces. Try to understand what makes a piece minimal. Is it more lyrical? Is it disconnected? What is actually the piece composed of? What is the instrumentation? Are there more woodwinds playing? Are there more solos going on in the music? Is the band playing together, and why? Why are there solos? Why is the band playing together at this point? See, try to understand the uniqueness of each of the composers. Also, some of this music is programmatic. It's intended to perhaps describe a bicycle ride or describe a walk through a forest. Try to envision that as you're hearing the piece. Well, it's been great talking to you about women composers and about composition. And it's important to include women composers on performances and even highlight them. There have been tremendous amount of women compositions written in the last 30 years. So let's hear them. Enjoy the performance. Thank you again for coming out to hear our wonderful program on women composers. I hope you have a wonderful night and make sure to include women composers on your next concert. Thank you.